The WASH KAP global form has many questions available that are hidden by default, but that you can choose to make visible if they're useful in your local context. To make this as easy as possible, there is a column called Filter for Optional Questions and Modules that you can use to help filter this information. So if you show only the optional module, optional note questions, you will notice that all of the red questions appear, which in other terms are the questions that are hidden by default. The sex of the respondent, if there are people with disabilities and or elders in this household, are hidden, and the idea is for you to make them available if you require them in your context. The explanation is given here in the comments column on how to actually make it available. Everything happens in the relevant column. This column is the one that helps with set up the skip patterns inside the form. So it means that if you have a specific question that only appears based on another question, this is where it would be set up. So here, for example, the country of origin, if other please specify question, only appears if the answer to country of origin that is here is a certain value. The optional side is set up with this impossible criteria that is 1 equals 2, meaning that if you remove the 1 equal 2, this question, sex of the respondent, as soon as you deploy it in Kobo, will become visible. When you have two different criteria, meaning that this question, how long does it take to go one direction to get water, only appears if there is no tap water directly on the premises. So what you would need to do here is remove the 1 equal 2 because you want this question to appear, and just remove the and, which is the syntax that helps keep both criteria, while now you only want to keep the criteria that there is no water directly on the premises. So this would mean that this question would appear. One last thing to take into account is that beyond the actual questions that are optional, there are also whole modules that are optional. So for example, the drinking water hygiene module, with the questions on getting a sample of water, how the respondent removed it to see if he did it the proper way. Not only the questions in it are optional, but the actual module is optional. So if you wanted this question to appear, how did the respondent remove water from the container, you would need to make this specific question appear by removing the other criteria. And of course, as this question, how did the respondent remove water from the container, only appears if the person has been able to give a sample of water, you would need to remove here the 1 equal 2 in this question. And you would also need to make the whole module available, which means that this group question will appear. Then you can decide which of the different questions inside this module you want to have. If you also want to see what people do to make their water ready to drink, you would remove here. And in the same way, if you want to make this question appear, what do you actually do, you would remove it here, etc., etc. As a summary, to make an optional question visible in the form, you need to first use the Filter for Optional Questions and Modules column to identify which questions are hidden by default. Then you need to remove the 1 equal 2 setting and relevant operators. And finally, you need to check if it's not in an optional module, because if it is, you will also need to make the module appear.